the, yeah, thanks to Bob, a really nice.
Nice job, Bob.
Oh, it's great. It's great.
Bob, did you send the committee a copy of that?
He's probably muted, Bruce, but
Yeah.
we'll
he
get it
is, I think.
soon. Maybe not tonight, but we'll get it certainly
Okay.
in due time.
It's in a Dropbox folder. I'll send you guys the link.
Okay.
You are the man, Bob.
Very nice.
Yeah, nice job. No, that's Bob in his young days.
Very young days.
I don't know how to make this any larger for you though. What's this? You? You have.
I don't know if Dave Race is on, but perhaps Dave can monitor the chat room once we get rolling here.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, thanks, Dave.
Yeah, gentlemen, I had no sound. Same thing happened to me last meeting.
I remember that. I remember Mr. Tom Becker articulating that whenever it was 2 weeks ago. Appreciate the folks trying to help him out.
It's something definitely at his end. I see a lot of people giving him
Yeah.
suggestions, so
This.
Bob Masucci, nice job.
Not here it is though.
Thank you.
Chat, screen, record.
So I had, you are muted, press, wait, I have to read that thing, guys.
And I gotta get volume after that. Muted. The volume's over there at 0.
Folks, please keep yourself muted.
I'm looking to see, is Scott Campbell on as yet?
I am. I didn't.
Okay. Hi,
There
Scott.
you go. There you go. We got 100. We're up to 170. We're going to start in a minute, Jimmy. So if you're ready.
Yes, Scott, you know, start us off, whatever, and yeah, we'll be fine. Yes, sir.
Bob, thanks for the background there. You did a great job.
All right, let me, I'll stop sharing then, I guess, since we're ready to start.
Yeah, good job though. That's great stuff. All right, we're gonna get started. Welcome, everybody. We have a lot of people signed up tonight, which is good. So couple of orders of business real fast. Once Jim gets started, and I'll introduce him in a second. Everybody knows him, but I'm going to introduce him again in a second. And once Jim gets started, I'm going to just ask everybody to mute your microphone and stop your personal video portion of it so we get better usage of what we're doing here on Zoom. So as a reminder, and you'll see it on the scroll, and again, thank to Bob Masucci for doing it. The background for the clinic at Sayreville, you know, you're going to hear this many times between now and June, but clinic will be on August 5th at Sayreville High School, starting at 8:30. So I always want to give that constant reminder. Another thing, everybody should have got an email today regarding proposed 6-man mechanic changes that you may want to suggest. Reference the email, and the due date is Friday, the 24th of March. So it gives everybody a full month, you know, to talk amongst each other, you know, whatever you want to do and make a submission. Just follow the only thing we ask is you follow the format of the email, so it makes it easy for us once we start the review that we're not duplicating or anything. So thank you for that in advance. Two more things. The next, just so everybody knows what the next program will be after tonight, won't be until March 9th. We have 2 in March, 1 in April, 1 in May, 1 in June, and 1 in July. So we're going to get you in good up and now till June. The next program will be pre-game procedures and O2O usage, and that should be another good one. And Vic Simon's going to present on that one. So Vic has a lot of pressure on him. So after tonight, last 3 presentations, you know, again, I want to thank amongst the group, Steve Citro, Eddie Camp, and Jimmy Kapoor last week. And Jim was so good, we've invited him back for a second week. So tonight's presentation is usually a favorite amongst all officials, and it's offensive pass interference and defensive pass interference. So at this point, as a reminder, I'm just going to ask everybody to shut their mics off and their video, and I'm going to turn it over to Jim.
Well, thanks, Scott, for that introduction, which someone must have emailed you what to say, but it's very kind. I want to thank Steve Citro and Dave Race. They certainly collaborated in assisting me here tonight, and welcome everyone on what here anyway, where I live, is pretty cold, damp, raw winter night. So I know we're all looking forward to spring. Maybe tonight's a good night to talk some football here. So back whenever the committee decided this would be a good topic. So we'll start tonight with a PowerPoint on 3 concepts. Scott just alluded to 2 of them: defensive pass interference, offensive pass interference, and defensive holding. And hopefully by starting with a PowerPoint and kind of building a little foundation, some concepts or axioms, and then we'll take a look. I think we have 14 plays picked out as tonight goes on. Take a look, and I'll start by saying this, okay? We're not going to solve the issues, the judgments of DPI, OPI, defensive holding. One of the things I've been taught over the years is that every play is its own entity, and you have to judge every play on its own merits. And I think sometimes we try to, I think, stereotype, well, this is similar to that, whatever, but really and truly, and hopefully we'll see that in some of the videos as well. So without any further ado, Steve Citro, I believe, is kind enough to share his screen with his PowerPoint. So once again, good evening, everyone. Welcome. And Steve, let's get rocking and rolling with defensive pass interference. Okay, so the general purpose of tonight is to put some bullet points together, hopefully to be more consistent in our judgment on DPI, OPI, defensive holding, what to call, and in my opinion, more importantly, what not to call. It's an axiom that I strongly believe in. I think sometimes the best call is a no call. We'll see that in a few of the videos when we get those later on this evening. The rules relative to DPI, OPI, defensive holding, mechanics and philosophy. And just a thought here that I always try to stress to folks is we all talk about judgment, and certainly that's very, very critical. But in order to make proper judgments, you have to know the rules. For example, what is a block in the back? Well, if you don't know the definition of it from a rules perspective, I'm not sure how you can make judgments on it. So let's never lose sight of the fact of how important rules are and actually what they read in a rule book. So, okay, Steve. So what we try to do here is give like an overview, some thoughts, some concepts, or reminders about defensive pass interference. And I apologize for reading these. I know you all can read. It's hard to gauge on a Zoom call like where we're at. So just a couple things again that are very, very important to know about DPI. And in some cases, these concepts apply to OPI and as well. But all right, so we know that the pass must cross the line of scrimmage. If the ball is right at the 50-yard line, we know that we cannot have defensive pass interference if the pass is thrown, say a screen pass, and caught behind the line of scrimmage at the offensive team 45, for example. So first axiom, the pass must cross the line of scrimmage. Okay, secondly, the defensive or team B restrictions begin when the ball's in the air, not before. So we could potentially have a hold without DPI. And that probably happens from time to time. We might not think about it in those terms, but for DPI to occur, the ball must physically be in the air from the passer's hand. Officials, very important. This was stressed to me early on as my career developed and so on. Do not look up at the ball. Stay downstairs. Stay downstairs with your eyes. The ball itself has never committed a foul in the history of football. In the history of football, as much as many DPI, OPI calls, whatever it is, the ball itself has never offended any human being. But certainly people offend rules, people offend one another on a football field. But it's important that we teach ourselves, field judge, side judge, H, L, to stay downstairs. I apologize for those who can't hear anything. I'm not technically savvy enough to assist you. Apologize. All right, another axiom that we talk about, and again, these are just all principles, reminders to keep in mind. You have to have physical contact for DPI to occur. I'm sure many folks on the call tonight remember when the National Federation rule was such that face guarding was a foul, face guarding without contact. That no longer is the case. We must have physical contact in high school for a DPI call to occur. So face guarding in and of itself is legal without contact. That's no longer a foul. Okay. The contact itself, just like the ball, the contact must occur beyond the line of scrimmage. You cannot have defensive pass interference, say on a screen pass in team A's backfield. Again, you might have defensive holding or something along those lines, but DPI cannot occur in team A's backfield. You take these concepts, folks, right? We put them in our minds and they become muscle memory, just a routine. And we add to our repertoire of officiating with concepts such as this. Keywords in the rule book for DPI, it must be a, quote, obvious intent to impede, unquote. And I think that where we get ourselves in trouble many times when we're ruling, is this defensive pass interference? It's close, it's this, it's that. I think these words, they've always been a good guide for me, an obvious intent to impede. There's absolutely times in a football game when there's going to be legal contact between an offensive receiver and let's say a defensive back that is not a foul. And sometimes we erroneously jump the gun and rule it a foul. I think, I'm sure a lot of folks on this call officiate basketball. And it doesn't matter the level, high school, college, biddy, whatever it would be where you live. But basketball officials tend to be very good judges of DPI or OPI. And I think that's because of rebounds. When a player shoots a ball in basketball, that's anybody's ball. If it doesn't go in the basket, it gets off the rim, that's anybody's ball. The same concept is applicable in football. If the quarterback throws the pass, once the ball leaves his his hand, that's anybody's ball. And both players, or multiple players,
That's
You like it? I don't know if I feel like it's too big up here.
Bruce, can we identify who that is?
Hang on, Jim. I gotta find out because there's 255 people now on. I gotta go through everybody. I'm trying to
Oh,
get
that's-
everybody to mute their
that's-
system.
Okay, I got you. Whomever it is, if you even have just a little modicum of knowing what's going on here, please mute your TV or conversation, whatever scenario it would be. But the key words, obviously intent to impeach, should always be, in my view, a transcending approach to calling DPI. Again, we could absolutely have contact without a foul. That is perfectly possible and in many cases warranted to not have a foul. Sometimes, as I said, the best call is a no call. Sometimes they're the greatest calls out there. Okay, when the ball's in the air, A and B players of both teams have equal rights to the ball. It is a loose ball by definition, and either player may attempt to catch the ball, bat the ball, whatever the scenario would be. Okay, when in question, I stole this like many things from the great New Jersey native Tom Hill, NFL official. When in question, if you're asking, is it DPI or defensive holding? Video review will tell you more times than not, many more times than not, go with DPI and not defensive holding. I'll repeat that. Video review, video analysis, studying video. When in question as to is it DPI or defensive holding, video will show far more times than not the ball's out. Go with DPI rather than defensive holding. I think we call that a best practice philosophically. Physical contact, as we alluded to earlier, is not a guarantee of a foul. And lastly, the pass itself has to be a legal forward pass for DPI to occur. I think there's a play in the case book, the 2022 Federation case book, where the quarterback runs past the line of scrimmage, throws a pass, which the defensive back is clearly early. However, the ruling, of course, is there is no defensive pass interference because it was not a legal forward pass. So all those things together, those bullet points, whatever you want to call them, I just kind of categorized into 10 of them. They're in my view, they're the foundation relative to DPI. So, is there any chat thing, Dave, there to allude to, or?
No, we're clear.
Okay. All right, so on to OPI. Again, same idea here, an overview, some key reminders. Again, some of these are the same as the DPI slide. Some of them are different. The first one is different, okay? For OPI to occur, team A restrictions begin to snap. And what this means is we could have contact by the offense, say blocking downfield, and then a second or two later, the pass is thrown, and that block then becomes offensive pass interference. So for OPI to occur, the restrictions against the offense begin to snap. And of course, we know that philosophically, it has to be that way. The defense is already at a disadvantage. They don't know the snap count. They don't know the play and so on and so forth. So I think everyone's aware of this, just kind of a mental reminder, for lack of a better word. Team A restrictions, the offense beginning to snap. And then keep that in mind, because a lot of times OPI is somewhat of a delayed flag and it's very well correct if officiated properly. Similar to DPI, the second bullet, the pass must cross the line of scrimmage. So we cannot have offensive pass interference behind the line of scrimmage by rule. Thirdly, once again, similarly, okay, I see a chat question here, so let's address that first. Stephen Foster, is there any rule about pass being considered uncatchable? We'll get to that, but there is not such a rule, Stephen, in high school. It's been lobbied about, it's been discussed, but we will talk about that philosophically. So that's a really good question. But, all right, so go back, the third bullet for OPI, physical contact is required. Okay, if the offense is face guarding a defensive player, that is not OPI. That's nothing. Physical contact is required. And similar to DPI, okay, the contact must occur beyond the line of scrimmage. There can be no OPI, as we said a little bit ago, behind the line of scrimmage. Different rules, codes, different rules, philosophies categorize OPI into 3 categories. If you want to jump back, don't do that, Stephen. Defensive pass interference, there's 6 categories. I've always felt that's, in my view, I'm not a very intelligent person. I felt that 6 was too many, but in my opinion, the 3 here that we've listed for OPI, 1 is creating separation. Just visualize the diagram here. Let's say the flanker back to the offensive right, the defensive left, the kid outside of the tight end who does a square in. If the top of his break, if he pushes and he quote creates separation and then cuts towards the middle of the field, that he would be a prime candidate for OPI. The diagram doesn't work, but we'll look at a video later on that will hopefully approximate the concept of creating separation. Illegal picks, most likely to occur in the red zone, not always, but most likely. And in my opinion, that makes, with 6 officials, when one official is going to have, in many cases, 2 keys rather than 1, that makes it very difficult, very challenging in my view. And then just blocking downfield and then releasing and having a pass thrown to him or a teammate. One of the things that the gentleman I alluded to earlier, Coach Tom Hill, has taught me, if you can teach yourself to do this, if you're locked into a receiver as he runs a pattern, if that receiver begins to take small steps, okay, he's probably lining up a defensive player to block or to pick. In many cases, in many respects, I should say, almost like a basketball screen. It's hard to do that if you're running in full strides. So again, just think of those 3 categories. And if you call OPI, you should be able to place it into one of those 3 categories in your mind. Absolutely. And I don't know if the day will come when we're actually recording those kinds of things in high school on our game cards. Other coaches do. I'm not suggesting that we should in high school, but I think in your mind, if you call OPI, you've got to know it's one of those 3 things. I alluded to a little bit ago, DPI, there's like 6 different categories. 1 is arm bar, 1's playing through the back, for example. Again, I've always felt, this is just me, and I'm not attempting to influence anyone's thinking. I've always felt it's easier to call, for me, DPI than OPI. And again, that's just me. I had a mentor of mine who was for a long time the president of Wingate University, North Carolina. He was a downfield official when I got into the ACC, and we were on a crew together for a long time and spent a lot of Friday nights in hotel rooms after pre-games talking about different things and looking at video. And I don't mean to be crude or gross, but he said DPI is like pornography. Nobody can really define it, but when you see it, you know what it is. And he always mentioned that, and it kind of stuck with me. Again, my personal opinion was I felt I was more accurate in calling DPI than OPI. And in the course of my career, there's no doubt in my mind that I missed more OPIs than I should have. There's no question in my mind. We see here Attorney Howard Hennick with Supreme Court Potter Stewart's line about pornography. So thank you, Howard, for that, for confirming that, if nothing else. Okay. All right. So we'll leave it at that. Thank you. And Jordan Alfonso, thank you as well. Okay. All right. So if we can go to the next slide, Steve, let's take a look at defensive holding, which is really separate from DPI. One of the things that separates defensive holding from DPI, defensive holding can occur beyond or behind. For example, if a back kind of gets out into the flat and is held as he's trying to catch a screen pass behind a line of scrimmage, that can't be DPI, but it could be defensive holding. And again, knowing the rules and the concept of the line of scrimmage and how important that is. Defensive holding has to occur before the pass is thrown. Once the ball's in the air, if we have anything, it's DPI. Okay, DPI cannot occur before the pass is thrown. Defensive holding cannot occur after the pass is thrown. It's going to be a DPI or nothing. as far as that's concerned. One of the things that was taught to me and ingrained to me, the third bullet there, folks, defensive holding to be accurate. It's what we call a two-step process. The first process is to see the actual hold. A receiver or a wideout comes off the line, a DB grabs him. Do not throw your flag right away. Do not throw your flag right away. For all we know, the quarterback might have rolled to the opposite side. The quarterback might have begun to scramble. It might be a quarterback draw, what have you, right? But if you see the hold, teach yourself, train yourself, mentally rep yourself at that point to look back to the quarterback. When you look back to the quarterback, if he's looking in the direction of where the defensive hold occurred, that's when it becomes a foul. That's when, now the NFL has a rule, the pocket. Please don't confuse that relative to federation. But the concept is the same. It's a two-step process. See the hold, look back to the quarterback. Is there a chat question here, Dave?
Yeah, was there appropriate foul when a defensive player knocks down a receiver waiting on a forward pass in flight behind the line of scrimmage?
As long as the contact is not illegal in and of itself, that's a perfectly legal play. If I'm a linebacker and I read a screen pass, it's a good question, by the way. I'm not sure who asked it, but if I'm a receiver behind the line of scrimmage, a back who is trying to get out into the flat to catch a screen pass, and somebody runs through me, as long as it's not high, illegal in any other way, face mask, something, that's a legal play in high school football. That's perfectly okay. Good question. Hopefully a concise answer. And another thing to think about with defensive holding is the last bullet there. Okay, the location of your flag for defensive holding, while we always want to be accurate as possible, it's really irrelevant. Okay, there's no such thing as a spot defensive holding call in high school football. I think that the codes vary in that. I don't know if we have any NFL folks on tonight, but if there are, they would certainly know far better than I would the NFL if it matters where a defensive holding foul occurs at. But the actual location
Doesn't matter.
is irrelevant. Okay. Oh, hey, Dominic. Thank you. Appreciate
Hey,
that.
Jimmy, of course.
So, and thanks for clearing that up. So it's the same thing. It would be the same concept. The location of the flag in and of itself is irrelevant. So again, just Steve, if you don't mind, just go back to DPI, give everybody a last look, then OPI, and then defensive holding, maybe like 30 seconds for each of the slides. Thank you, Steve.
Jim, will this screenshots or PowerPoint be available to everybody?
I'm okay with it.
Okay.
So after the meeting, I'm planning on forwarding this to Mike Bartram. I still have to forward him the PowerPoint from last week as well, and then hopefully he could share it.
Very good.
Sure. As folks are looking at that, and Steve, you can go to Mr. Markins Pierre has a question. In Federation, the defensive backs are not allowed to hold within the free blocking zone. The fact of the matter is, holding is never legal in a football game. Okay. The very nature of the word hold makes it a foul. Now, the question we decide is, did it affect the play? Was it enough? All those things. But you can never legally hold another human being playing in a football game. So the question is not, can you do it? It's, is it going to be a foul? And I don't think it has anything to do with the free blocking zone. I think it's was there enough restriction so the guy couldn't catch a pass or get out into the flat to get open or whatever? And that, again, that's a good question, Mr. Markins Pierre. Okay, I think I know him. Okay. Yep. So
We have another one, Jim. When you, a receiver defender, are going stride for stride and they trip, incidental contact, what happens if the receiver's ahead of the defender and defender steps on his shoe and they go down? DPI ?
So good question. And not to, again, I said at the top of this, we're not going to solve anything. This is where our judgment comes in, and our judgment based on the rules that we've hopefully highlighted here and kind of articulated a little bit. I think that, like anything else in officiating, when it comes to potential DPI, potential OPI, potential DH, the biggest thing is you got to see the whole thing. Numerous times in my career when I've made mistakes, and trust me, I've made more than anybody on this call. More times than not, it's because I come to a play late. And by that, I mean, I didn't see the whole thing. And when you turn your head based on what you were doing, you see contact and you tend to overreact to that or react too quickly. I call that coming to a play late. And believe me, I didn't invent that phrase. Lots of folks use it. But if we come to a play late, the chances of being wrong greatly increase. The very fact that feet get tangled, by definition, if that's what you judge, that is not defensive pass interference. Remember the words, an obvious intent to impede, that we alluded to back in the first slide. So that's why they're paying you $120 in 2023 or whatever the level is, or whatever the case would be. We ultimately, football officiating comes down to basing judgments on your rules knowledge. And that's why the judgment of one human being relative to another is going to be different. What some people think is DPI, others might think is perfectly okay. What some people think is not DPI, others would think, well, that's a missed call. And I don't know that as long as human beings are doing this, I'm not sure we're ever going to get away from that. I'm sure that Dominic in the NFL and some folks that I know from collegiate football, it is a very difficult call in some cases, and it creates great consternation. Deep officials primarily, but also short wings. When you get potential DPI, OPIs, things, it's typically out in open space, and everyone kind of sees it. And that means everyone just chimes in on it, their opinion. That was terrible, this, that, the other thing. I wish years ago, I wish I'd had a video of a play that I screwed up about as bad as you can screw up a play. And what had happened was, I'm going to try to, as best I can, verbalize it. I want you all to picture a slot back. You have a tackle and then a kid in a slot and a split end. And at the snap, the slot goes forward about 7 or 8 yards, and he cuts to the right. And now he's going to do like an out and up. So try to visualize that. Okay. An out and an up type thing. Got somebody drawing here. I love this group. This is awesome. But so as he does this, a defensive back, okay, who's guarding him, he sees the kid come at him and he gives ground. And then the receiver cuts to the right, and then he puts his foot in the ground and he tries to go an out and up pattern. As this is happening, the D-back is playing zone and he sees the ball in the air. The quarterback threw the ball expecting the receiver to not run the out and up, but just run the out. But as the kid turns to run the up, the DB reacts to the ball and there's contact. I throw my flag for DPI. 100% wrong. Totally wrong. There was contact, but the defensive back was absolutely positively playing the football. He has every right to do that.
The people in the living room, we have to.
And I still remember the remnants of that play in my mind. And a long time ago, it was a high school game. I got a video of it, and I couldn't tell you where it is now, probably in some landfill, whatever the case would be. But that was one of the worst calls I've ever made in my life. And what I violated there was 2 things. One, that was not an obvious intent to impede. And secondly, when the ball's in the air, players of both teams have equal legal rights to try to catch the ball, bat the ball, whatever. Did I know the rule then? I did. I didn't have the experience that I later on fortunately gained, but it was a terrible call on my part. Terrible. And if that verbalization of what happened can assist anyone, please, by all means, learn from my very, very poor call. Just terrible call. If I was a supervisor then, or if there was a supervisor grading it, it would be like as bad and negative as I could get. Was there contact? Absolutely. But both players were doing what they were legally allowed to do. And the best call there would have been a no call. And I called DPI on a kid. So, okay, Steve, why don't we go back through the OPI and then the DH, and we'll take a look at what's next as we hit right at the top of the hour here. You with us, Steve?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, we're OPI now.
Okay, I got you. Dave, is that?
That is-
Jack?
Yeah,
Go ahead, Dave.
another, yeah, I just saw, what about scenario where both A and B are looking up for the ball on the fly pattern? A slows down because the ball's underthrown and B runs into him. No intent, but DPI question mark.
Yeah, well, again, Justin, you'd have to see it. I mean, that's a simple answer for me. It's not a cop out. You'd have to see it. If A slows down intentionally because the ball's underthrown and he's trying to play the ball, the onus then goes to B, because B, at least as I'm reading your question, it does not appear to me that B is playing the ball. Having a right to do something and actually doing it sometimes are two different things. Again, a very, very insightful question, Justin Jab. Thank you for that question. Okay, Steve, are we going to the videos then that
Yep.
were selected? Okay.
Yep, just give me
So-
1 second here.
Yep. So thanks to, again, Steve and Dave Race, I can't give these two guys enough kudos. They spend a lot of time, collaborating with the three of us collaborating on this. So we took, these are all plays from 2022. And in some cases, they were clearly wrong. In some cases, clearly right. And probably in a few, back and forth, maybe yes, maybe no. As we look at these plays, I would ask each of you to simply keep in mind two things. One, we're trying to teach, instruct, and become consistent. And two, we've all been the official on the field, good, bad, or otherwise. Okay, is there another question, Dave, that I just see? this-
Yeah, Zach Gilbert, is a hold restrictions against receiver in space different than a hold at the line of scrimmage, or same philosophy?
Well, I think you got to look back. That's a good question. You got to look back. You see it, you look back, and whether it's on the line of scrimmage in open space, I think you treat it the same way in federation, but you got to look back to the quarterback and see what's going on with him. So, all right. So this first play here, we're going to look at again. These plays are from 2022. And in some cases, again, we're going to be hopefully trying to teach and instruct, but in some cases can be, yeah, I think we want to stay away from that. Keep this in mind before we start. In my opinion, we tend to throw too many DPI flags in high school, in my opinion. We see contact, our automatic thought is a flag. I'll get back to the basketball concept. I was told years ago at a clinic, basketball officials or kids that played basketball were like forwards and got on the glass, the boards a little bit, tend to have very good judgment when it comes to DPI because they deal with loose ball rebounds in basketball all the time. So let's take a look at this first play. And we see, starting with our field judge with the red armband for the play clock, and we'll see his cushion at the start. The ball's at the -15. So Steve, if we can, run this play here and take a look at this, we'll get a good grasp. All right. I want you to watch the bottom wide out at the right. All right, now can we run it back, Steve? This is similar to the play I just tried to describe because the potential contact or the contact occurs against a slot guy. And this is why, folks, it's so difficult in six-man mechanics. If we take a snapshot at the snap here, the field judge's key is the player in the purple whose left foot is at about the 14-yard line. Thanks, Steve. Okay. Now he's going to run an in pattern, and the official is probably going to stay with him. And the next thing you know, the kid's running a wheel pattern or an out and up who's in a slot with his left foot, whatever that, I don't know if that's soccer or field, whatever that yellow line is. But at any rate, he's the player that comes into focus here. And we don't have a back judge. So the deep wing is, kind of betwixt and between. Now we do obviously have a short wing at the line of scrimmage, but this is the kind of play that gives us difficulty because we might come to it late. And think about that saying as we get through this play. So watch the kid in the slot now this time instead of the wide out. The kid in the slot that Steve has is the kid, okay, right here. Now, all right. So now watch this here, okay? And right now the quarterback has the ball. This is nothing. The contact between the player in white and purple is nothing. Now we have this here. and we get a flag on that. Okay, now if we were grading this tape, this would be ruled an incorrect call. This is not anything. Although the kid in white is not looking at the ball, okay, if there's any contact, the ball has already what? Hit the ground. We do not want a call on a play like this. This should be graded as incorrect. Okay, it's just not enough. Again, we have to get a little bit better, I think, at our judgment on plays like this. Is there a chat thing, Dave? No, okay. All right, but this is nothing here. What I do like here is this official delayed. He took his time in throwing the flag, which is good, which is good. We don't, even on a DPI, we don't want to be too early with our flag. That actually, the timing aspect of it is good. It's just an incorrect judgment.
We have a comment, yeah, plus receivers out of bounds when contacted. And then was that called DPI or because the DB hit him after?
The call was for defensive pass interference, to answer the question. No, this is not being called.
No late hit.
And it's not that, this is a 7-letter word starting with an N, nothing. That's all this is. If you look at the down and distance across the way, it looks like it was like 3rd and 13. So we're bailing the offensive team out here, okay? We just can't justify that, okay? So, all right, next play, Steve. Good questions, folks. All right, now here we have a second down at about 5, maybe 5.5 or 6 at the minus 33. Okay, Steve? Okay. Double wides each side, slot split. This kid hauls off and throws a long pass, and we got one. This is a little bit like the question thing. Well, you know, what if somebody slows down and stuff? Steve, we can run that back, please. Okay. In my view, this is a very, very good no call. I think this is, the pass is a little bit, look at both players are looking to the ball. The kid in white, the kid in purple, they're both looking back. They're exercising their legal rights to a loose football. Neither player is disadvantaging the other. This is a very solid no call. This is exactly what we want to play. This picture right here that Steve has it stopped at. This is absolutely outstanding. Both players looking for the ball, making an attempt to catch the ball, bat it, whatever the case would be. So this is very good here. We don't get a call. Let the players play. The kid in white makes a catch. They gain 32 yards, whatever it is. Okay, that's the way it works. That's how it should be. So this is a good no call. Very good video of a correct no call.
Jim, the only comment so far is that they like the lighted down marker.
Well, I guess certain schools have that. And by the way, I also like the deep wing here coming in and killing the clock. It's clearly a first down. Okay. And if he's going to take ownership of this, that's fine. He squares off pretty good. This looks like what I call a real good optic. Okay. And this, what we don't realize, stop it there a minute, Steve, right there. What we don't realize as officials is when we do things mechanically well, in this case, the guy kept a cushion. Now we got a catch. He comes in, he kills the clock. What we do without even realizing it is we build credibility to the fans, the coaches, and so on. Just by doing these little things correctly, people get the impression, hey, I like to think of it as a puzzle. And if I'm in the press box and I see it, I like it. It's like a puzzle that everything fits into the puzzle and everybody knows what it should look like. Okay, go ahead. Good no call here. Good play. All right, obviously a different game. Now let's stop right here. Okay, the ball is at the plus 32. We see up top, I don't know if it's the field judge or the side judge. That's a 26-yard cushion. That's fine. That's absolutely fine.
Hey, Jim, before you go to this play, there is a thing on the chat. Shouldn't the deep wing on the previous play stay in front of the play and communicate the dead ball spot with the short wing?
There's nothing wrong with that. But if he's that close, and he, as I use the term, if he takes ownership, just go in, kill it. The short wing will read it. Okay, it's one of those yes and no, but it worked out just fine. It's a good optic. If that is what would have happened, that's okay too. That's okay too. And sometimes, one of the advantages of working with the same crew, at least theoretically all the time, you kind of get used to one another like that. Okay. No, that's a good question. I'm not sure who had it in there. I
Gentleman
mentioned-
named Steve Schmidt.
Okay, Steve, thanks. Please, folks, it's hard for me to do the chat thing and stay on the screen. I see these red numbers come up, but that's why I appreciate Dave or whomever else reading it to me. So please don't think I'm ignoring you. But it's difficult for me to click the chat and then see the screen. So, okay. All right. So now we have a guy here, a deep wing at the 5-yard line. My suggestion here would be, and we keep harping on this. All right. We're too close to the sideline at the snap. I'm going to say this phrase, which is applicable to all deep officials, whether you're a field judge, side judge, or in the playoffs, 7-man back judge. Okay. Distance is your friend. I'll repeat that. Distance is your friend. It gives you a better wide angle view. It gives you a better peripheral view. Distance is your friend. So if you're a deep official, when should I go wider or go closer? All the time, go wider. You're better off. Distance is your friend. It's better for your eyes. Okay, so on this play here, we're at the plus 32. Looks like it's a 1st and 10 or 2nd and 10, whatever. Not sure what the previous play was. Let's run this play, Steve. All right, now let's talk about, if we can run it back and just talk about some things. First of all, right there, the G, the goal line thing, we're going to harp on this every time I have the opportunity to speak. That G should be farther off the field itself. The official, you need room to work. Distance is your friend. You should never have to worry about your legs getting tangled up with the G. Never. Just before the game starts, there's 4 of them. 2 on each goal line at each end of the field. Take the G and move it farther back than any of the other 10, 20, 30, 40-yard line thing. Move it out of your way. It can never help you. It can only hurt you. The G should not ever come into play when you're officiating around the pylon. So just move it off the field. We talked about that last year in these very meetings. And again, you probably get sick of me saying it, folks, but it's the right thing to teach. It's the right thing to stress. So get the G back there. Now, if he has a little bit wider vision, if the official is back where the G is, okay, he's going to get a better look at this. Now, you can clearly see number 17 in red is absolutely beat. You can clearly see the player in white is looking at the ball. And you clearly see the player in red, the defensive back, is not looking at the ball. And this here certainly meets the criteria for DPI. Now, the kid, I think he catches it anyway, if I remember when we looked at this, but that's somewhat irrelevant. Obviously, if he catches it and it's DPI, I would signal touchdown. There's a school of thought out there that says, don't do it. If your flag's on the ground, don't give a touchdown signal. But if I know it's DPI and the kid catches it, I'm giving a touchdown signal. And obviously, we're going to, decline the foul, whatever it would be. But go ahead, Steve. Keep going with this play is what I'm trying to say. Okay. So, yeah. Right. Okay. I'm sorry. The kid did drop the ball. So we have a good call, DPI. The official finishes the play. Think about that as well. Finish the play. Make a ruling as he correctly does. The pass is incomplete. And now we're going to go on our 0-2-0. We're going to go towards the referee and we're going to say DPI number 17, pass was incomplete. We know the foul in high school is not a what? I know you all know this. It used to be, it no longer is an automatic first down. But I think if we look back to the beginning of the play, it was 1st and 10 or 2nd and 10. And obviously the 15-yard penalty from the 31 down to the 16 will give team a first down. And that's something that, to stress, finish the play. Another statement I stole from Coach Tom Hill, finish the play, stretch the play out, stretch the play out. Chat box, what do we got here?
Yeah,
Dominic put something in, but I'm sorry, Dave. I didn't know you're on. Chris Malkin has a question for you. He has his hand raised.
Okay, go ahead, Chris.
Chris, you have to unmute yourself, Chris.
Well, Chris, if you get, please feel free to type in the chat room.
Can you hear me now?
Hi,
Yes, go
Chris.
ahead, Chris.
Yeah. Well, what is that guy doing on the sideline right there near the end zone?
Yeah. So, great, Chris. Okay, there's really two people in this picture that don't belong. One's at about maybe the 8-yard line. I don't know if he's a cameraman or whatever. And the other guy is 4 or 5 yards, thanks, Steve, in the end zone. Neither of those people belong there. In the United States of America, we all have certain rights, but we don't have rights to be where we're not supposed to be. Those people there are trouble for officials and players. And since one of our obligations and responsibilities is to protect the players best we can by rule, neither of those individuals belong there. And I'm not going to tell stories, but I will share this with you. About 3 or 4 years ago, I was working a game at North Carolina State, and they had a guy laying on the ground with a camera. And I made it a point to ask him how much it cost. And he said it was like $26,000. One of those high powered, whatever it is, this, that, speed shutters, all this other stuff. The guy was laying on the ground, and he was about where that guy 4 yards deep in the end zone was. So I'm at the pylon pre-snap, and I see this guy. I say, "What are you doing here?" He goes, "I'm doing my job." I said, "You're doing it from the wrong place. Okay. You can't stay there." And the guy's giving me all, I stopped the game. I got on the O2O. I said to the referee, I said, "Stuart, hang on here. I got a clown I got to take care of." That's exactly what I said. And I went to the guy, I said, "You have to move now, or we're going to stop the game and have like security come over and move you away. You are potentially going to injure players, myself, or yourself." And I said, "How much did that camera cost you?" $26,000. I said, "You don't want that to be smashed." And I just left it at that. And the guy then, he like on his knees, he crawled backwards on his knees and his stomach till he was like 10 yards away. And then the guy started bitching me that he couldn't get a good shot. And he actually said to me, he says, "I got a good shot of your ass." I said, "That's what you should be taking." That's what happened. So, all right. Yes, another one, Chris or whomever.
Yeah, good story, like you said about the placard. I kick it out of the way. And during the play, I feel something at my feet. The cameraman is putting the placard back under my feet. So I literally kicked it and pushed him out of the way. And the guy's yelling at me. I'm like, "You don't belong here."
Well, you're right. I would not publicly advocate pushing him.
I kicked the placard, but
Yeah, well, again, I would just be a little bit, maybe a little more discreet or tactful or diplomatic, but you have to make it clear you don't belong here. So whatever you got to do, and that's where, quite frankly, and this will sound kind of an athletic director thing, but that's where game administration comes into play. And that's a whole, let's not go down that road because it might not end well. But at any rate, to Dominic's earlier chat box statement, this official does a great job finishing the play, ruling incomplete, getting on the O2O, we ostensibly think, and telling the referee we got DPI. And now the umpires got to know from the right hash, offensive right hash 31 down to the right hash on the 16. The reason I point that out, folks, when we talk about finishing the play, it's not just with your signals, it's with your mind. So if we started on this, just say hypothetically, we started on the offensive left hash, okay, and the pass occurred here. The previous spot was the offensive left hash. That is where that foul, we would go to the 16, but on the left hash. So you have to have an awareness of what I call the big picture. You got to have a big picture of where you started and where we are now in the course of a given play. It's not hard. It sounds complicated, but once you get it into your repertoire, it kind of sticks with you. Is there a chat thing that the red just popped up?
Yeah, Jerry Picasio stated, "Leave the ball, complete your play."
Perfect, Jerry. Exactly. Yeah. Thank you. Please, Jerry, thank you. Thank you. Please do not chase footballs as an official. That is not our job. One of my pet peeves is when a pass is incomplete, the guy sometimes give like a halfway signal and then he runs after the ball like he's a dog. Do not chase footballs. And why do we do that? Because when we start out, we're working 3-man games or 2-man games. And if we don't chase it, nobody else is. So we get into that habit. But as the size of our crews increase, 4 men, 5, 6, whatever, don't chase footballs. It's a terrible optic. Terrible. Thank you, Jerry, for that very appropriate chat. Okay, Steve. All right, same game. Now look at our down and distance here. We're at the plus 18. Stop right here. The official at the pylon, he's too close. And to the previous Chris's question, we got two people that don't belong there, probably the same two people who were there maybe the previous drive or whatever the case would be. Maybe this is the same drive. Okay. In fact, it is. It's the next play. Okay. Now we're saying 1st and 10 at the 16 or 17. I guess the ball is on the 32. But those two people shouldn't be there. Officially, you got to get far better depth. Distance is your friend. Distance is your friend. Cannot overstate that enough. Distance is your friend as an official.
And Jim, to your point, I believe this play was put on here to show that the ball correctly moved 15 yards and stayed on the right hash.
Perfect. Yep.
Spot.
Exactly. Thanks, Steve. And again, thanks to Dave for going through these plays and sifting them out and stuff. So good. Okay, Steve. It's a pretty nimble umpire there. And now you see the 6-man mechanic. Can you just jump back to that for a second, please, Steve? At the end of this play, just go ahead and run it, Steve, but stop it when you see the umpire kind of nimbly get out the way. Just a little bit farther. All right, now watch the field judge or the side judge, folks. He now realizes the ball is touching the 7 or maybe at the 6, so he's going to go to the 9 yards, the numbers, but back on the end line. All right, so that's good. Okay, I'm not a big fan of him stopping the clock there for a first down, but that's okay. The guy's head is in the game. That's important. Okay, Steve.
Jim, just one comment. He's taking his eyes off the dead ball action to see where the ball is. He could delay that a little bit and make sure he's keeping his eyes where all the players are.
So, Steve, you're very insightful, or somebody's teaching you well. Look at the cluster of players here, folks. There's probably 19 players within 5 yards of one another. And we have one umpire primarily looking to a short wing to get a forward progress spot, when this official is looking, I think, to make sure that there's a first down. I'm talking about the guy in the end zone, like on the 1 yard line. So to Steve's point, you're absolutely right, Steve. His eyes belong where the players are. Remember, the ball, the chain crew, none of that has ever committed a foul in the history of football. So good pickup, Steve, and thank you. Okay, go ahead. All right, here we go. Minus 39. Looks like a 3rd and about 6. I don't know if this is the same official. It's the same game. I don't say, okay, this is a real good cushion. We'll talk about that a little bit here. This is a real good cushion. And the official comes to a stop. A couple thoughts here. The NFL has done an exhaustive study on what the human eye sees and when the human eye sees best. And we're far more accurate, and where we're still. Be as still as possible, get to where you belong, and then come to a stop. I think this official does it very well here. This is, in my view, a good no call. If you can run it back a little bit, Steve, you'll see both players making a legal bona fide attempt to catch or bat the ball. All right. Right here, look at both players looking at the ball. Okay. The defensive kid has his head turned around. Okay. He has a good cushion, about 12 yards. Excellent. Very well done. Comes to a stop. Good, nice, incomplete signal where you want to keep your hands at your parallel to the ground. Shoulder, extend your elbows. Carl Paganelli used to lock your elbows when you give an incomplete pass signal. Lock your elbows. It's like a baseball umpire, soft umpire signaling safe. Lock your elbows. None of this halfway stuff. Lock your elbows. Okay? Get your chest out there. Chat box, Dave.
No, nothing. We're good.
Okey doke. Okay. All right, Steve? All right, so now we're down in the red zone. All right, where I think at the +9. Quarterback scrambling, throws a pass. Unfortunately, the video it's tough to see on video here. The receiver, obviously number 3 in green, is certain that he's been interfered with. I really don't know if it's visible on the tape, but a couple things to point out here. The ball's on the 9-yard line. As the kid starts to scramble, the official at the bottom does a nice job staying put until the ball goes past the line of scrimmage. Okay, now it's intercepted, and we immediately go into, what a lot of people call it reverse mechanics. I actually try to use the term change of possession mechanics. And he's right there, step in, kill the clock, point first down for the team in white. I like how this official handles this play here. And again, we found this play, and it's if you watch number 3 from the start of the play, he's a wide out and he runs an in route. You'll see it coming up right as the quarterback begins to scramble and then throws the ball right here. Okay, number 1, and the kids are with the arms up and all that stuff. Is that DPI? From this video, I can't say, and frankly, neither can any coach. Okay, I like the mechanics of I don't know if it's the H or the L. I like that, and it's there's going to be plays like that, folks. Just remember, like any officiating endeavor, when we have a play that we're not sure, you got to flip the switch. You got to discipline your mind. I think of a light switch or a water faucet. Turn it on and then turn it off and just move on. You can't dwell on it. You can't dwell on it. All right, go ahead, Steve.
Jim, I'd like to ask a question. This quarterback here, based on the new rule, would we consider him outside the pocket in his scramble?
So go back to the beginning of the play. I think the ball starts at the hash.
Yep.
Okay. So now we know we got, quote, 5 yards on either side. So watch number 10 in green here. Good question, Steve. Go ahead. In my view, he's outside the box. I think that movement there put him outside the tackle box. I mean, obviously, we don't have a question of grounding or anything, but in my view, he's far enough outside. Mike Bartram, I just saw that come up three steps. Okay, and to me, I'm satisfied. I think that's what John O'Neill preaches, the guy we had at Sayreville last August.
Yeah, that was the philosophy that we incorporated, was 3 steps.
Perfect. Okay. All right, Steve. All right. Ball's on the -30. Looks like it's second down and about 8. Pass downfield, incomplete. And obviously, we have no back judge here. It's a 6-man game. First of all, I like the hustle coming in. That official, I hope he gave an incomplete pass when still. Is there a chat question about the other play, Dave? It just popped up to me. All right, George Van Buren asks, in reverse mechanics, does the back judge take the spot? Well, of course, we don't have a back judge, but on a play like that, if the H started going or the L started going the other way, then the answer would be yes. The deep wing would, in fact, get forward progress spot. But on a play like that, it's okay, in my view. The kid didn't run it back a long way or whatever. But that's a good question, George. And in the ideal world, if you, as a short wing, react right away to the interception and start hauling your rear end the other way, then you're counting on the S or the F to get the forward progress spot of the intercepting player. Okay, this play here, go ahead, Steve. Here again, on this, the ball's in the air, both kids making a legitimate attempt. I rule this as another good no call. Okay. Players get up. Number 2 is very nice. Hey, 2, thanks, appreciate it. Tell the player that when a kid throws you the ball like that, tell him. What it does is it makes him realize, without thinking about it, that you're watching, you're observing things. Hey, appreciate it, 2. Good job. Thank you. That's all part of communication that is far too often overlooked. Okay. All right, this play here, we have a second down at about 4 from the -29. Okay. I think we get, yeah, okay. We get a holding call here. Run this back, Steve, all right? So again, not to be critical, okay? This is not close to a foul. All right, I want you to watch the wide out at the bottom when he gets set, number 1, okay? And the kid comes across in motion, all right? I know we're not talking about offensive holding per se, but this is, all right, watch this kid, okay? All he does is block him and then he pushes him down. That's not a hold. That is not close. Mark Bitar has stressed time and again, we got to get more consistent on holding. This is an illustration, okay? The hand, there's no advantage gain. The kid engages him, and just watch number 1 here. He just, okay, now look, hands, and he just overpowers the player, and we throw a hold. So we take, instead of going out to about the 44-yard line, we're going from the 39 back to the 29, pretty much back to the original line of scrimmage. But there's no reason to throw this as offensive holding. This is nothing. We've got to get better understanding what is and what is not holding it in defensive and offensive. But we don't want this as offensive holding. This is a very poor call, what we call poor foul selection, probably a better phrase. Okay, go ahead.
Hey, Jim, just to stop you a second, if you've let the play run out, as a group, we got to get better at talking to the guys with the chains. Watch the down marker move.
Yeah, Bruce, I was just gonna.
It's a great point.
It is. So up top, so that guy's moving way too early, right? Hopefully we have the clip in case the chains themselves move, but, and maybe another night, not tonight, but maybe our H's and L's can just review or put a document out there. I'm sure people use it. You know, what you try to tell the folks that are assisting you with the chain gang, you got to stay put. And this is the play where I can see where it might be difficult for those folks to see the flag on the field on the other side of the field at the 39-yard line, but nonetheless, great points, well made. Okay, everybody just slow down. Slow down. There's no hurry in a football game. Okay, go ahead, Steve. All right, ball's on the +16. Here's another play where a similar type thing. Right. Now, here again, we get a hold. It's just not there, folks. It's just not there. And then in addition, the official is giving the dead ball signal and then the timeout signal. Okay, remember this axiom. You give one signal on one play. That's all we want. One signal on one play. Now, if you watch this play, I'm sure he's calling holding on the slot. But again, there's just nothing here. We cannot make these calls. Everybody says, well, it's only 10 yards. No, it's not. On a play like that, we're going from about the 7 back to the 17. The play ended at the 3. That's 14 yards. So we just have to get better. I think video is the greatest teacher in officiating, but we have to get better at understanding what the game accepts as far as what's a hold and what's not a hold. I guarantee you, a coach will send us and say, well, they did this. And it has, you know, the old phrase that Dave Parry, the former NCAA guy, used, MIBT, make it be there. These last 2 plays we looked at would certainly not fall into that category. I was told a long time ago by a guy named Jerry Austin, who I met at a clinic, and he said, here's how you should officiate. Assume every play is legal until it convinces you otherwise. Assume every play is legal until it convinces you otherwise. I think about that a lot. Okay, go ahead, Steve. Here we have a late substitution coming in on the offense. Is he set? I guess so. All right, but that's something to be aware of there. We don't see that a whole lot. Right. And here we go. Here's another holding foul. Okay, run it back, Steve, to the beginning of the play. And again, folks, check out the team in red on offense up top. They have a very late sub. Now, I'm hoping that the umpire and the referee right now are counting 10 offensive players. Now the coach is kind of frenetic. Here comes the 11th player. It looks like he gets on the line of scrimmage, so they do have the correct players. But now watch this, okay? Now, again, we call hold. I'm not, I don't, it's, folks, please, I'm not trying to be redundant here. That's not a foul. We have open hand blocking. Sometimes big man wins. He just overpowers the kid. Don't be arbitrarily throwing your flag. One of the things that has been talked about by our mechanics committee is just the very concept. We have 3 categories of OPI. There's 3 categories of holding. What category would you put this in? Is this a takedown? I don't think so. Is it a grab and restrict? I don't. So my point is, we just have to be a little bit slower. And when we go slower, we go better. The slower we go, the more accurate we are. All right, Steve. And here we get a pass. And this again is one of those really good no calls. Steve, run that again. I'd like everybody just to take a minute and look at the line of scrimmage official at the bottom. And I'll point something out afterwards, okay? We're on the plus 22 right hash, okay? Now, all right, now right here, look at the line of scrimmage official. Bang. See, we're turning way too fast to get a new ball. There's no reason for that. Slow yourself down. Slow yourself down. The offensive player who's in the end zone who tried to catch the ball, it's going to take him at least 15, 20 seconds to get back to his side of the line of scrimmage or even run down the sideline and out of bounds and be replaced by a sub. Finish the play. Slow down. Finish the play. Then worry about getting another ball and getting it to the other side of the field on the offensive right hash. The play itself here I like is a no call. Both players legitimately going for the ball.
Jimmy?
What's the chat? Yeah.
Ed's not on here, is he?
I don't know, Dominic.
Okay. This is I can just hear Ed saying how aggressive he gets, knowing how pinned to the goal line we are in terms, it's deep wings, right?
Yep.
So because the deep wing is this close to the action, I think line of scrimmage, we need to be more aggressive in working these plays. Even though that we're that far away, I think we need to be that aggressive and trust ourselves. So if we as deep wings throw here, come down and have a conversation. If we don't throw, like you said, Jim, this is a good no call, but line of scrimmage guys feel the same way about this. This is a really good no call here.
Thanks, DP. Okay, Steve, I think we have 2 more plays, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So first thing you should all notice, the deep wing is far, far too tight to the pylon, but at least the G is gone. So the G is not restricting his movement. When you look at this play at first, the first question that comes into your mind is, did the offensive player create separation? Did he push the defensive player out of the way so he has a far better shot at catching the ball with nobody around him? So Steve, if you could back it up and run it, and that's what should be going through your mind. Okay. But we're too tight to the sideline. We're too tight to the sideline. Now watch red here, okay? Now, to me, that's a feel, F-E-E-L. I don't think that's enough for OPI. It's a feel. Somebody else might see it differently, and that's going to happen, right? But if you know what you're looking for and you're in good position, you're going to have better accuracy. And then it just comes down to judgment, okay? If you felt that he did push him enough to create separation, then a flag's warranted. And if not, then it's not. Then it's not. This official, one thing I would, to finish the play, you got to kill the clock because it's clearly a first down, whether or not you have a flag. Okay, I see the chat box, weak signal. Okay. Bill Young. Hi, Bill. Okay. All right, Steve, I think we have one more play and then we'll wrap this up. Plus 48. Here we got it's just not a good optic. Look, we got a short wing running back up the field for a hold. Please run it, Steve, one more time. All right, we got another hold up top here. Now that one I like very much. You threw it, you see the deep wing throwing it. The flag is not in a good location, so a couple things to think about here. First of all, we've got to get our flag to a better location, okay? Go up. If you're not sure, just ask somebody, ask your short wing. You got any idea? Can you help me there? Whatever it is. Yeah, and we do some things wrong here. There's no doubt about it. I see the one chat. I think there's more than one, but we probably don't slow down enough. There's no hurry. We're not going to have another play until this foul is adjudicated. All right, but the first thing is we got to put the flag at a better location, and it's hard. If you're a deep wing and you throw a flag, it's very, very difficult. Secondly, on this play here, if the kid scored a touchdown, I like the idea of not signaling touchdown because you know as a deep wing, it's coming back because your flag was on the ground. You know it's not going to be a touchdown. That's kind of a philosophical point. Dominic, do you have something?
No, Jimmy, nothing more.
Okay.
Hey, Jim,
Yes.
the only thing I would say is, and I think the red player who scored the touchdown, is he still in the end zone here? I can't.
Yeah, everybody turned their back real quick. to go to-
Everybody turned out, that
Yeah.
guy has got, the guy who's the deep there needs to be sure at least that his partner across the field is watching that dead ball action if he's going to come up the field.
And Bob, so we talked tonight and think that is finishing the play. Just
Right.
because the play is quote over, it isn't over. There's a guy named Paul King that I've been fortunate to get to know in the NFL. He has a great phrase that I've stolen. He says, a play ends when all the players stop moving. Until then, the play isn't over. Now, maybe somebody blew the whistle, maybe 18 players out of 22 stop, but think about that, folks. A play ends when all the players stop moving. And that certainly, to Bob Masucci's point, is not the case here. So at any rate, I think we're 52 already, or 42. So I want to thank everybody. I apologize for talking too much and stuff, but again, Steve and Dave, thanks for picking out these plays. I think this will be archived, correct, Bruce, if anybody's interested?
Yeah, definitely be set up for, they can watch it again for sure. Probably be done tomorrow morning. That along with the attendance sheet, who attended, and if they have till the Tuesday before the next one, or I guess Wednesday before the next one, when the video goes dead.
Okay. And to everyone on here, I think it's 2:55 now. I don't know what it was, but I want to thank everybody for giving up, an hour and 15 minutes on a Wednesday night in February. I really appreciate you folks having me and on these meetings, and hopefully if there's one thing we get out of it, good for all of us. So until we next cross paths on Zoom.
Jim, could you hold on
Jim?
a second for me?
Jim, I think Scott has something
Yeah.
to say.
Okay, Scott.
Scott Campbell.
Yes. Again, we maxed out at 282 people on here tonight. It was a great turnout, and thank you to everybody for getting in and participating, and Steve, Dave for helping out, and Jim. Great presentation. Those who logged on tonight with just their phone number, if you could, type your name into the chat real fast while we're still on, so you can get credit for being in here. Identify yourself, or at least reach out to us and let us know what phone number is associated with your name.
My name's on there, so I don't have a phone number.
Yeah. So other than that, I want to thank everybody again for participating. Again, our next session will be on March 9th. And the topic to be covered that evening will be O2O mechanics and pregame responsibilities and duties. And that is a big one. I mean, that's a lot. That's one I think that we take for granted sometimes as officials, and that's an all 6 man responsibility. So that should be a good one. So unless anybody has anything.
Hey, I'm getting off. Fuck you guys.
Anybody has anything for the good of the order, and we're going to tell everybody, have a good week, and we'll see you on the 9th.
Good.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Thanks, Jim. Good night.
Good job, guys. Thank you. Good stuff.
I think I got the phone numbers, Scott.
Yeah, I'm not going to hang up yet. Hopefully they do it.
I got Mike Moran was one of them. And some guy named Edward Fernance, F-E-R-E-N-C-E. I had 856-905-3606
One of
and
our guys.
218-5505.
Okay.
Nope. Edward Fernance, that's it. That's all. Oh, wait, there's another one here. Jeffrey Mell. I'll write his number down. 442-4034. Okay.
Not to be a pain in the ass, but this is Kermit Hartman. I get no emails from anybody. My crew chief gives it to me.
That's Kermit. That's probably a zebra web thing. So you want to reach out to
I don't
somebody.
really deal with zebra web. To be honest with you, I can't stand zebra web.
Well, that's the you gotta have to, Kermit. This is Bruce. You're gonna have to deal with it because that's where we get our
Bruce,
assignments.
I get your emails, Bruce. I get nobody else's emails.
All right. Well,
go ahead, Bruce. I'm sorry.
Do you have the right email in ZebraWeb? You have two emails there. Which one do you prefer to use? We talked
I've
about
dealt with
this.
zebra web for the last 2-3 years. I'm tired of dealing.
I understand that, Kermit. So have I. I've done it for the last 5 years with college football. I get your frustration. You have two emails there, Kermit. Which one is your primary email?
The one that is KIRM. Curb dog.
All right, Kermit. You have my email address. It's in wherever you go to RefSec, wherever. Send me the one you want to use, and I'll make sure it happens. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. I appreciate
Kermit.
it.
All
No
right,
problem. It's
thank you.
Bruce, right? You know it's Bruce talking to you, right?
No, no, Bruce. I know you.
All right, very good, Kermit.
You're a good guy. I like you.
We'll
Bruce.
take care of it. No problem. Thank you, Kermit.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, Bruce.
Go ahead.
Did you get Jeffrey Mell on here?
Yes, 848-444-0033.
Mike Hagenbach was already listed. I saw him by name, but he was listed. I have another guy that reached out to me via text. I'll forward you his text. I know he was on because I saw him. So
okay, who's that?
Leon Daniels.
Okay, yeah, I didn't see his name, so I got
I just sent it to you via text.
Donald D. Micko and Dan McGraw. So let me just write them down. 848-4. I got this same number, 44033. That was your mail number, guy before. I wonder if these guys are taking the call together.
Yeah, you know what happens sometimes? I notice because it happened. Some guys are getting on, and
they might be going to somebody's house and doing it at somebody's house.
Yeah, they're getting a dual usage type of thing. So,
Don D-I-M-I-C-C-I-O. Okay, all right. I got these two last guys up. So. Anybody else? Good night, Gil Bragg. Gil's a good guy. Kermit. All right, so I gotta write his email down. KIRMDOGG@yahoo.com. Okay, this is Kermit. I gotta take care of him too. All right. Scott, you're talking. I don't hear you, bud.
Hold on a second, Jim. Oh, I'm on the phone with Jim Kapoor real fast.
Oh, okay.
Do you still need me?
No, I think we're done. I think we got everybody listed here. So I'll see you soon. I'll talk to you soon. Okay.
All right, Bruce. I'll give you a shout. Thank you.
All right. Night.
Take care. Be good.
I don't know how to